Hello my friends, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be looking at the 2023 Acura RDX A-Spec. In Canada anyway, all the RDXs you can get are A-Spec. Yeah, this is the 2023 model. As we look at, I gotta say, it's been commented on all week long by everybody who sees this thing that it is bloody good looking. It is a beautiful car. I'm talking exterior for the moment. It's lovely. It's got great lines. Proportions are good. The rear roof line's a little tapered, but it's not too bad. And when we get in the back seat, I'll tell you whether or not it affects headroom. It's just beautiful. Look at this thing. I love the way it looks. I really do. The rims are pretty. These are, what are these, 20-inch, I think, if I remember correctly. I believe these are A-Spec spec rims, something like that. And then you come to the face. You know, you have the huge Acura mouth, of course, you know, but, you get nice eyes, and it just looks good. It looks really good. I love this thing. I think, yeah, it's absolutely pretty. Even with some errant bird droppings on it, it looks good. Thank you, Mother Nature. I was struck, actually, because I hadn't taken a good look at the RDX in years. And to be honest, I wasn't really paying attention, and it's completely, I'm besotted with how this thing looks. It looks really great. Let's head around to the back and have a look at trunk space, because this is a 5-passenger SUV luxury version, but it is a very, very busy market segment. So I was looking up competitors for this thing. I mean, I don't have the strength to write how many competitors there are in this market. Of course, you get a power tailgate, which is nice. You get lots of space. The floor is relatively high up, which is nice. I like that, personally speaking. Some people like a lower loading floor. Fair enough, I get that. But I like the way this is situated. I like you can sit on it, and it's nice. I like that. You also get, which is cool if you're, in my real job, I'm a salesperson, so I'm always on the road driving around, blah, blah, blah. You get this storage compartment here, which is really nice. It's concealed. Nobody knows anything's there. It's really cool. So I keep, in this case, filming equipment, but laptop bags, etc. Anything valuable. It's nice. You get power outlet. You can drop the seats, sort of, with these handles, which is interesting. And they are very stiff. You're going to work out your guns pulling that open. So, yeah. And there you go. That's fully open. It's not bad. You get lots of space. It's good. It's good for shopping, good for a medium-sized Costco run. Yeah, and it's nice. Maybe powered seats in the back, but to be honest, it's cool. Doesn't matter. Doesn't bother me. Let's slap this thing shut. Head to the back seats. Have a chat about those. In the meantime, there we go. Okay. One thing I want to touch on is the door panels. Honda's, I'm on a series of, this is my last Honda Acura car for a bit, and all of them have had really nice door sills. Look at this. Even my fat forearm sits on there just fine. And that's comfortable. Comfortable when you're in the back, comfortable when you're up front. I really like that. So in the back seat, we get lots of red leather. I'll shut the door for noise purposes. This is the Platinum A-Spec trim. So you get Alcantara inserts, which are lovely, and they're in black, so when they get dirty, you'll never notice. Lovely red leather. I really like the leather in this car. It's nice. I've always been neither here nor there with red leather. It's a tough one, but I've seen some really good examples over the last year or so. You get center console, cup holders, some really nice softy fabric in there. And then you get a control center here where you get heated seats in the back, which is really nice. 2 power ports, vents, and this has a pano roof. I'll open that when we get to the front seats, but it gives lots of light, etc. Given where this car is in its evolution, it's nice to see. Actually, I wasn't necessarily expecting that. So sometimes, because this car's design is a little bit, probably a generation behind where we really are at the moment, so it's nice to see that, because sometimes that's a fairly modern development, isn't it? Full glass roofs. All right, front seats, where the magic happens. So again, here it's not as wide as it is back there, but you have a nice ledge for your arm. And I love that, when you're rolling or whatever, right hand on the steering wheel and left is up on the sill, for me anyway. You get in this A-Spec, you get the ELS Studio 3D stereo. I don't actually know what that is, but apparently it's good. The stereo in this car is fine. I wouldn't call it premium, but it's fine. And here we, oh, hello Acura. There we go, look at that. Oh. Okay, so let's talk, should we, yeah, let's turn it on. Fire up the car. What do we get going on over there?
The water coming back.
Sorry about that. I turned the Bluetooth off. The car turned the Bluetooth on my phone, I think. That's funny. Anyway, so let's start with the dash cluster. So we get a very Acura dash cluster, the sort of gray black with the red letter numbers. Ooh, numbers and letters, etc. Fixed speedo, fixed tach, and then you get a little information center, which I barely touched, here in the middle. Yes, yes. Which technically you should be able to scroll through. Why is it not doing that? Oh, I gotta put my seatbelt on. Oh, Acura. Oh, I love you. I'm looking at it, can't even figure it out. Okay, there we go. So trip computer in the middle, and you can scroll through various screens, etc. Other one, sorry, use this one and change whichever one you want. It's okay. It's pretty basic, but most of the time I just leave it on either what I'm listening to on the stereo or speedometer or whatever. So, and trip computer. I like the trip computer because we've got to talk about fuel economy at some point. Now I can take my seatbelt off. Okay. The Acura steering wheel, quite pleasant. All the controls are pretty much here. The telephony controls are a little, we'll get to that with the infotainment. That's something we should spend a minute or two talking about. Ancillary controls here, etc. The usual stuff, heads-up display. The heads-up display in this thing's quite clear. It's very bright, multicolored. It's quite nice, actually. And we must talk about the infotainment system. So I'm going to turn the AC on just low because it's getting hot in here already. It's going to be a warm day. So this is the infotainment system. This is hooked up to Android Auto, wireless Android Auto, which is cool. You can... Go back. So this is the native system. What you have here is one of my beloved touchpads. I remember when I had the CLS AMG or AMG CLS 53, something like that. I did a video on it, of course, and I bitched and moaned about the touchpad, how it was sort of Stone Age technology. And I'm not wrong. I don't care how many of you disagreed with me. But this one is, it's in the same vein. It's a strange system. This is like when you're in the native system, it's like a mouse pad. You have to maintain contact with it and move it around, if that makes sense. And then if you want to switch screens, you swipe. You know, it works okay. It's weird, but it's fine. But if you're going to be in Android Auto, or I assume CarPlay is the same problem, it's largely useless. You're going to be operating through your phone more than you will this control, because I've just found it to be cumbersome. It doesn't respond. I can't select the app I want when I want it. It's horrible, actually. Otherwise, I mean, it's sort of usable. You know, sometimes, but I did find, even when I was trying to answer a phone call, because you have to press this center pad here, that's your answer or whatever, it would, for whatever reason, slide to the right and then ignore the phone call. And sometimes phone calls are important. So, yeah, really very strange. I don't know. The infotainment system, and this is not a touch screen or anything like that, it's all controlled through here. You have no options. Not that you'd want to lean all the way in anyway, but you get my point. So, my biggest complaint about this car is the infotainment system. It's just old. It's got to go. Got to find something new. One thing we should also talk about, because the screen itself is a decent-ish size. It's not very big, but it's okay. But you look at the cameras. You get a 3D camera system, etc. It's very standard definition. The screen itself is HD, but the cameras that you're relying on are, yeah, they're pretty sad, to be honest. It's weird. I've seen in every Honda I've driven, the 4 that I've driven, always this camera system. And that just doesn't cut the mustard anymore. It's just disappointing. So let's put it back in park. So anyway, yeah, yeah, I don't know. It's been an irritant the week that I've been driving this thing. HVAC controls, it's nice. This is where it gets better. There's buttons, etc. Mode selector here. I barely use it, but that's fine. Gear select, and then the lovely touchpad. Center console. The cool thing I want to point out is how it sort of comes in from both sides and swoops in like this. It's very pretty. I love that. I like the Alcantara insert here, all that kind of stuff. It's, you know, as pretty as this thing is on the outside, the interior, aside from some functionality issues, is lovely as well. It's a really nice looking car overall, I've got to be honest. Has one or two issues, but other than that, you get cup holders. It can hold an oversized, obnoxious Yeti mug, no problem. Center console. Storage, I mean, is tiny. It feels very solid though. That lid, I like that. One thing, I'm gonna hop out here for a sec. Okay, so because I'm fat, I can't bend over properly. So down here, you get the wireless charging pad, and you also get a 12 volt and then a USB-C. Excuse me. Ow, my body's not meant to move in these shapes. That is an afterthought. That is. I think they facelifted this car in 2022, and I think that might have been when they added this charge pad. And it's for the driver, it is impossible while you're sitting there to conveniently get your phone in and out. It's a little better for the passenger, as my wife pointed out, but yeah, that thing is useless to me. I don't care for that in the slightest. I don't know. There had to have been a better way like that. I've been charging on wires all week, simply because. So we come to the final item to talk about is the pano roof. It's nice. You get a open sunroof you can open in the first half, and the back half is glass, and it gives you lots of light. It's nice. It's really good that way. I was impressed. So there you go. That's the interior of the RDX. Interesting car. It's pretty. I like this car inside and out. It's really good looking. Some technical issues, you know, and maybe it's just showing its age as a design. I don't know. It's not that old. This generation was introduced in 2019. But let's take a drive, shall we? So hit the drive, e-brake off. Okay, so let's make sure we don't crash into anybody. All right, so the 2023 Acura RDX starts at around $57,000 Canadian, and then tops out. This is the Platinum A-Spec trim, which tops out just over $60,000 Canadian, which is a lot less than I expected. I drove the Honda Passport about 3 weeks ago, and I didn't get to do a video on it because my voice was shot. I got sick and I had no voice I lost my voice for 3 weeks. It was incredible. I know, the internet weeps, but that Passport was like $56,000 and nowhere near as nice as this. And they're both 5-seaters. This, I mean, for the extra money, I mean, it's a no-brainer. Within its own segment, I think it's actually rather well priced, to be honest. You know, it's not bad. I expected it to be more expensive. I expected it to, you know, push 70 grand. So that was a pleasant surprise. You get there's only one engine option, a 2-liter turbo. That gives you about 276 horsepower, 280 pound-feet of torque, roughly speaking. It's actually pretty good. There's not a lot of turbo lag on this thing, and the power is acceptable. My neighbor has pretty much this exact car, and he wandered over to tell me how he likes to race Teslas in sport mode. I think Dave might have been shining me on a little bit, but he likes the power, and I don't find that this thing lacks to any great extent, so that's cool. One thing I do need to talk about here, I'm just going to pull up for a second here. This probably isn't the right place to do it, but don't worry about it, it's a Sunday. So one thing I like to do with these cars is reset the trip odometer, the whole computer thing, so that from the time I pick it up to the time I shoot these videos, I have some sort of barometer or measurement about the fuel economy in particular, because that matters to me, right? I mean, if gas is expensive. Here in where I live, it's $2 a liter. It just went over $2 a liter again. It's a lot of money. So this car, I can't remember what it was rated. I meant to look that up and I forgot that little detail, so I'll put it on the screen now. But the reality that I've faced, I've covered 306 kilometers in this car over the last 6 days, and it is averaging 13.4 liters per 100K. That's a lot. No BS, that's disappointing. That's crushing, actually, because I only this morning looked up the details of the power plant. I've been busy all week. I haven't had a chance to prep like I normally do. And I looked it up this morning, and I was stunned to learn that this is, in fact, a 2-liter turbo, right? Very common power plant, designed to be efficient, etc. And that's what we get. I don't know. It's been about 70% city driving and 30% on the highway, and that number has not gone below 13.1. I've kept a pretty close eye on it. I don't know why that is. That seems very thirsty for a medium-sized car. That's about as big as I would ever call this thing, and really what should be a super fuel-efficient engine. I would have expected it to be readily under 10. So that was a little disappointing, gotta be honest. But it is important that you guys know that kind of stuff should you be interested in buying one. It is one of the, I'll get to that at the end, but anyway, what's it like to drive? It's great. It's got super Acura's super handling all-wheel drive, which is just all-wheel drive, but it's a good system. You feel very planted. This has a dynamic suspension, something or other. I don't know. Active dampers, I think, is what it is. So the suspension is constantly shuffling bits and pieces around. The car is very stable. You can chuck it through corners. Here, let's put the foot down and go through this one right here. And just, you know, it sticks to the road. I don't want to get a ticket, sorry. Cops are all over this area, but it's good. It doesn't wallow. It doesn't do any of that stuff. It just responds. Great car to drive on the reg. Like I said, the power you get immediately. There's no real serious lag or anything like that. This has a 10-speed automatic transmission. It shifts very smoothly. This is why CVTs are completely redundant. We don't need CVTs. When we have great automatic transmissions like this one. Incredibly smooth. I don't really feel the shifts, nothing. It's great. Absolutely fabulous. I enjoy how this thing rides and drives. Let me think. What else should we talk about? Well, let's talk about competitors. Like I said when we were outside the car, oh boy, is this ever a jammed marketplace. There are so many competitors, I don't know where to begin. So I just chose one that popped to mind because I've driven this recently. I drove the Genesis GV70. It was the electric version, so forgive me, but the gas version is pretty much priced exactly the same as this vehicle. The benefit is you get more power and a lot more, you get a much more modern car, if you will. I assume that in the next couple of years, whenever Honda gets around to updating this vehicle, introducing a new generation, you know, it will fix, you know, it'll catch up, right? But for the time being, technologically speaking, it lags behind a lot of its competitors, and the Genesis GV70 has an equally lovely interior, and you get a bit more for your money, in my opinion. So, you know, it's yeah, that's kind of up to you. And then the other one to consider is actually the Lexus RX 350. I haven't driven the newest version of that in quite this year yet. I'm trying to get my hands on one. I haven't spent as much time in Lexuses as I would like, simply because there just aren't a lot of them in the press fleet here on the West Coast. But it does line up. I did do a quick comparison this morning on the Magic Computer Box, and it lines up pretty well, financially speaking. So, you know, price wise and stuff, for the same amount of money as this, you get something that has a similar amount of power, equipment, etc. So I think in that one, Lexus has foregone the irritating touchpad, because they still use touchpads too. So that's another one to consider. I respect Lexus deeply, and they're always a good call. So yeah, that's your and again, there's dozens of them. You know, if you're in the market for a car like this, make a list, go drive them all. And yeah, it's, you know, this sits firmly in the middle. It's a strong competitor, there's no arguing that. The problems that this car has, you know, are fixed in other models, so, and other manufacturers' offerings. But it depends. Some of them aren't as good looking as this car, because don't forget, this thing is stunning. I love the way this car looks. Get a different color. This gray is kind of meh, but that's just a color thing. So where do we sit? Well, that's the Acura RDX. It's a lovely driving experience. It's a beautiful car. It's actually pretty well priced, all things considered. And yeah, I like it. Like it a lot. This infotainment thing has got to go. I don't know how much, a lot of people say, like my neighbor in particular was saying you get used to it. Okay, sure. If I drove this thing for a long period of time, I would completely forego Android Auto or Apple CarPlay if you're an Apple person, because it's just useless. It does not work. So I would use the native system, and I'm sure that'd be fine. You know, that is actually a lot easier to use than Android Auto. So fair enough, maybe I would get accustomed to it. I don't know. But other than that and this stupid wireless charging pad, those are really the only blemishes that are of great concern for this car. So it's a very strong competitor. I've enjoyed my time in it, and yeah, it's a really solid car, actually. So good. That's what an Acura should be, in my opinion. You know, and it's cool that they haven't just rebadged a Honda. All the manufacturers have moved away from that. You know, these are bespoke interiors and exteriors, which is really cool. That's the way it should be. You know, I don't like cheap badge engineering nonsense. So the industry has mercifully moved away from that in recent generations. So that's nice to see. And I guess that'll do it. I'm not gonna keep you guys any longer. Get back to whatever you're doing. Go back to work. Go walk your dog. Whatever it is you do. You guys have a great day. We'll see you on the next one.